All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about the Multicultural Counseling Syllabus for sections OL1 and OL2. So, of course, up here at the top, you're going to see just kind of the general contact information. I'll talk about my communication here in a minute. Here is the required textbook. Hopefully, you've already gotten that. Let me scroll down. We will be referring to the ACA Code of Ethics as well as the multicultural social justice competencies throughout the entire course. So you will want to download those and make sure you have access to those. I will post various articles, whether that's, related to the signature assignment. You'll be able to find all of those in Canvas. I'm going to keep scrolling here. If you're interested in how we're going to assess the different course objectives, you can see those outlined here. And then, of course, the most important part, how are you going to be graded? So each assignment will have its own separate video. So I will talk about kind of in depth what are the requirements for each of these assignments in their own specific video. You'll find those in Canvas. I always tell students to pay attention to how much an assignment is worth to determine how much time you're going to invest in that part of the course. So you can see here the signature assignments are worth more, but the discussion boards, which you'll have one every other week, are worth 25% of your grade, and that does include commenting and engaging on the discussion boards, which you'll have one every single week, and so that is worth a quarter of your grade. So you'll want to make sure you're investing time into those. We will have timed quizzes. That's once again helping prepare you for licensure exams in the future. You can use your book and notes, but because of the time element, you're going to have to read and be prepared. You will not have time to look up every single answer for those quizzes. You can see here 10% of your grade is being engaged in the course. So that's doing your coursework, being respectful to one another. And so I do have quizzes embedded into the lectures. And so you will get points for participating in those lectures. And so those kind of are embedded into your participation points for the course. Here's the grading scale and how you'll be graded in the course. I do expect a high level of engagement, so that means logging in, completing the assignments every single week, letting me know for some reason you're not going to be able to meet those expectations ahead of time. Ask for respect. Multicultural counseling can bring up a lot of different viewpoints. And so I know that kind of as a country, we are divided on even some of the terminology that's taught in this course. And so I just ask that you come into this course with open mind and with respectful attitude to one another, even when we disagree. So as you can see here, it is a very high-paced class, and so you will have to, there is a late work policy. So if you do not have prior permission, you will lose 5 points for every 24 hours that an assignment is late. It won't go below a 60 based on timeliness unless the quality of work is also missing. So you will lose up to 40 points for timeliness, and you can't go below that 60 based on quality. I encourage you, if you're going to be late on an assignment, let me know ahead of time. A lot of times I do grant extensions when there are extenuating circumstances. So as long as it's not, where we have time and space in the class to do that, generally I say yes, I will work with you. But if I don't know about it ahead of time, I can't work with you. The only caveat to that is I never give extensions, and I don't do late penalty for quizzes. So if you miss quizzes, you will receive a 0 on those quizzes. I occasionally will give extensions for those quizzes, but once again, I have to know about that in advance because the feedback for those quizzes are released on the due date. And so that's to make it fair for everybody. So don't be alarmed if you're completing the quiz and you don't get feedback immediately. It's because it won't be released until they are actually due. I do prefer email as a form of communication. I aim to get back with you within 24 hours. And so the caveat there is that that's between Monday and through Friday. My personal time is on Saturday, Sunday. So it doesn't mean you won't hear back from me over the weekend. It's just not a guarantee. So I do ask that you give me that 24 to 48 hours before emailing me again, asking me for my response. I'll be honest, I always go in my emails from oldest to newest. So if you do that, you actually go to the back of the line. So it actually typically prolongs your reply from me. If you would like to meet with me, please reach out. I would love to do that. I'm happy to meet with students over Google Meet or Zoom. Just let me know ahead of time, and I'm happy to set that up. I will be using the question answer discussion board. So if you have a question about an assignment, I really encourage you to ask that in that discussion board so that all your peers can benefit from your question, unless it's personal in nature. Personal in nature, definitely email me, reach out. Sorry, my Yorkie has decided to get upset. And I'm almost finished. They always do that. Dogs and children. You can see here my AI responsibilities. I do ask that you use AI ethically and responsibly. You should not be utilizing it for any discussion board or assignment and asking it to write that prompt for you. You can help it. You can use it to generate ideas or brainstorm, create an outline, but it should not be doing the entire assignment for you. I'm using the plagiarism tools in Canvas, and it does have an AI checker. So you might want to be aware of that and make sure that you're not overusing AI if you choose to do that. All of these assignments have a specific video, so I'm not going to go into those any further, except for I like to talk about the discussion board and the quizzes here in the syllabus video because they don't have their specific. So you'll see here, this is the rubric I use for every single discussion board. I'm looking for depth, and I'm still looking for correct grammar. Don't, use a ton of contractions. Don't use abbreviations. This is not a text-to-speech type of an assignment. It's still an academic writing assignment. And on the week that you are only responding to your peers, you do need to respond to 2 peers, but you also need to be tracking the conversation on your own post. You can see here you get 20 points for continuing the conversation on your own post. So the worst to me is that we've started these conversations, right? Your peers are asking you a question. They might say, "Oh, I noticed you said this. What does that mean?" Da 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 da. And then you never respond. Well, that's not a conversation. In class, we would have a verbal conversation where you would, respond to your peer. So you will receive points for continuing the conversation. So make sure you don't forget to do that. I already talked about that the chapter quizzes are timed. They are multiple choice. And I talked about the feedback and when it is available. You'll see down here is the timetable. So this is the schedule for our course. The dates in Canvas should line up with these dates. You will see if the week ends on, May 12th. In Canvas, I do have it set up for May 13th at 1 a.m. That's just to account for time zones. I'm in Eastern time zone. I wanted to make sure they were kind of closing out on Central time zone. So some people do get confused when they see that May 13th as opposed to May 12th. So it's essentially May 12th at midnight. Central is when that info is closing. So you will want to pay attention to that. Each week will be open from the corresponding Tuesday to Monday, except for week 1. It's Monday to Monday. Once again, since my communication protocol is that I'm not as available on Saturday, Sunday, I give you the day on Monday so that if you've emailed me a question over the weekend, I have that day to respond to you and you get that info before an assignment is due. And then that final week, week 7, technically I have that open up the same as week 6 because you have a little bit of a shorter time because everything is due by that Sunday night. So every other week it's due Monday night except for the final week because that's when the courses close across the college. So they have to end on Sunday. You will see you can access course lectures at any point. Those are available for the whole module, but quizzes do not open up until the week opens. So you will not be able to work ahead on quizzes. You can work ahead on everything else, signature assignments and lectures. You just cannot work ahead on quizzes. That's just to help you continue to stay engaged in the content. It's too much content really for 7 weeks. I don't want anybody rushing through and trying to finish, an entire textbook in 3 weeks. It's just, to me, you're not going to retain the information needed for a licensure exam. So if you have any questions, jump on the question and answer discussion board and I'll be happy to answer those there.